Inhuman is one of the oldest and finest metal bands of Kolkata. They have been around for over a decade now. With a new lineup and 2 releases under their belt, they look stronger than ever. So let's hear it from Ankit Mitra, the founder of Inhuman, all about his musical journey.
So hey guys, welcome to Metal Guitar 911, and today with us we have a special guest, Mr. Ankit Mitra of Inhuman, real guitar virtuoso. So we want to listen from him. So Mr. Ankit, so tell us about how did you pick up your guitar?
I used to play violin actually since I was about 8 years old, and then in around class 8 the first time I went and I bought a tape because I found the cover interesting. It was Pink Floyd's The Wall live on it was called Is There Anybody Out There, and if you remember, like the cover art was really nice. It had 4 faces which were cut out, and for some reason back in the day we used to have that Mirinda Men, and I somehow thought it was those Mirinda Men guys, and that's why I bought that tape. And when I heard it, because cassette tape, I was blown away. And so I was trying to look at credits, and I saw that in the tape you didn't have even the lyrics, so it was just like twofold. So it was just like 4 guys I saw, like guitars and this, and then and I was like, I didn't grasp the idea that there were additional musicians. So I thought, wow, 4 guys and the sound is so huge and so many things happening. These guys must be like, so this is what it is all about. And one of the things that I really got from those Pink Floyd stuff was like, distortion. Like the distorted guitar sound, I really liked it because of that song Young Lust. And I really wanted to hear more of it. So for some reason I asked someone, there was some senior, and I vaguely heard about metal, heavy, these words. So I went back to the store, and again there were a lot of like reject albums, like there was stuff like Iron Maiden and this and that. Nobody used to buy it. It was just near my house, so those things were always there. So I just saw whatever name, Metallica. I'd heard of Metallica because I think Mission Impossible 2 and all of that came out. And then I saw there was one tape called, a band called like Megadeth. So I was like, wow, Mega and Death must be like really something. And there were 3 albums. There was Rust in Peace, there was So Far So Good So What, and Euthanasia. Of them, I saw So Far So Good So What had like a proper skeleton, cheesy, but like I thought, okay, so this must be the most devastating thing. So I bought that home. And when I first heard it, I was like, oh wow, something else. I not heard anything like that, and that music, that guitar and everything. So I quickly waited till a couple of weeks so I could afford, and I bought the next album I bought was Rust in Peace. And that album, I remember listening to it on my way to one of my tuitions. For the first time, I used to listen to it on the Walkman and walk to my tuition. So that moment is when I decided I wanted to play guitar, because when the Holy Wars, that first part ends and Marty Friedman's clean solo comes in, that was like a rebel, because I was going through like Dhakuria Bridge and I was just like coming down, and that song just like, and I was like, wow, it was something else. So that was the watershed, like that moment that I want to play guitar. But I managed to get a guitar almost 2-3 years after.
So guys, Rust in Peace. How do you come up with the idea of forming a band? And before Inhuman, do you had any other bands?
Not really. Like back in school, when I was still playing, I realized that like if I really wanted to be good, because after that Megadeth incident, like I got friends who were already senior to me, and like had more information. So I used to like hang out with anybody who was into music and had like a net connection and had stuff, and I could hear. And from there I met like a friend called Sinjay Banerjee. You might have heard of him. Like he has his own group called the Sinjay Banerjee Trio or Quartet. And like from him, like I got introduced to Malmsteen and all these players. I really wanted to play all of that. So, but whatever the stuff I heard, it was always like in a band scope. it always went back there. So I always wanted to play with a bunch of guys. I didn't want to like sit at home and just play, because after a point, there are certain things that your own ideas start coming through, and I didn't just want to perfect my playing of Megadeth or Metallica, those songs. Like, it would make no sense. Like, why would anyone listen to me? They would rather go and listen to Metallica, Megadeth. Like, to be very honest, like properly to make Inhuman from the finally, like we got the lineup. Inhuman was in my head for 2 years. Even when I was playing, alongside with the college band, the usual covers of Bangla band songs and all for fests and all. But I really wanted to play this, and thanks to my experience with the college band, I got more exposure to the other bands and everyone. I started to look into and started to talk to other people whom I could get in together and get this project together, and that's how Inhuman started. So yeah, I always wanted to have a band setup, not like a solo thing.
So Inhuman, as per I know, that it started in 2008 around.
Yeah.
So who were the band members at that time, and now it changed a bit?
Inhuman, basically when I started out, first people of Inhuman was me and Korak Sarkar, who was the drummer. I had met him also while playing with my college band. He was from Jadavpur University. It was a different college, but still we played in the same setup for a long time. I used to go to his place and jam and there. And he was a very hardworking fellow, and his timekeeping was very good. And the best part, that's what you need in a drummer, and Korak had that. And Korak and me, we shared this idea. I spoke to it, I want to play real metal, like not whatever. I really wanted to make something legit, and Korak shared my vision. He wasn't also somebody who wanted to like take the easy way out. So we worked together. It was just two of us. We played together for 2 years, like songs, like death songs, like initially he used to play like Pink Floyd and what was that punk band, Green Day songs. So from there, like he took a conscious transition. Like he started practicing like the heavier, like Deep Purple stuff, and then the Zeppelin, and then Iron Maiden, and then Megadeth, Slayer, then Death. Like, so it was a progress, and it was progress for me too also, because I did a lot of stuff, but then I realized that even the music you have to make, you have to really listen to it. So for 2 years I listened to an obscene amount of metal from everywhere, and that was the main thing, like, getting the backbone of the band together. I had some chaps in mind, but that some of them came through but didn't work out always. But finally we got a lineup with Shiladitya, who I got through from another guy whom I had contacted if he wanted to play. His friend was Shiladitya, and Anirudh, who was my school junior, who was also a guitar player, and he was like, screw it, I'll play bass for you. So that's how Inhuman started. And yeah.
So how you come up with singing?
Yeah, that's another thing. I didn't want to be a singer. That's why you see in the new lineup, I'm not a singer, because I really don't like singing. But back in that time, you start out with a band and you have no credibility, and also you didn't have good singers back then. Like, metal community was also very small, and so you can't just get somebody to growl, and nobody knows how. Even I didn't know. In the first initial singing, I burnt out my throat. It was terrible, but I still wanted to do the band. You had to go on. You can't just keep waiting indefinitely with other folk guys. So that's why I took up singing, and so that's why the first lineup had me singing all this stuff. But I personally really don't enjoy singing, because I never wanted to be a singer. I always wanted to play guitars all the time.
Can you tell us about your gears and guitars? How many you have? What you use?
My first guitar was a Braganza two-tone Les Paul. It was a pretty terrible guitar, but that time I had no idea about it. It cost 3,000 an electric guitar, can you imagine? And it was a Les Paul copy, and this gold color. That was enough to sell. I was like, wow. And I didn't even know how to tune an instrument then. That was my first guitar. And there was this guitar player we used to really look up to back in the day. There was called Gaurav Dasgupta. He used to play in a band called Cyanide Angels. He's now a music producer in Bombay. So he was the guy who used to play all the Steve Vais, For the Love of God and those kind of stuff, and we used to be like, wow, cool, And he used to play a really nice looking guitar, which was like a, what do you call, the crackle burst finish on a green crackle with a black, those spots kind of. It was a Kramer, and even Sinjay used to use a Kramer. And back in the day, if you want to play a middle range, like decent imported guitar, only Ibanez were available. I didn't want to buy Ibanez, so I asked and I got a Kramer, and really liked it because it was like red, very 80s yellow maple board. And yeah, for some reason I used to, Van Halen used to also play a Kramer in my head, so like, yeah, that's great. So I played that for a couple of, but then I realized, that these are the Chinese made Kramers. Kramer had gone bankrupt years ago, and so it wasn't what it was. So anyway, so a couple of years after buying the Kramer, I had gone on a trip to Japan with my folks. And then my father had said, like, and Japan was like the revolution for me, because I played so many guitars, and the shops over there had like almost everything. I had played all the stuff I ever wanted, like Malmsteen's signature Strat, Zakk Wylde's thing, all the Jacksons. I even played, I keep forgetting the name, it's some Apple horn or something. Something like that. There was one of the guitars like that, which James, Matthias Eklund and James Murphy used to play. And those guitars and all. And my father said, I'll give you the option to buy one. And I really didn't want to buy Ibanez again, because you go to Japan and then Ibanez. But sadly, of all the guitars I played, for some reason the Ibanez sounded the best over there. And I ended up buying the Ibanez SZ. And it was pretty cheap, because it was 54,000 yen, which was 19,000 rupees in our currency. And so yeah, that was the guitar which I used for the longest time. I played that for about 11 years. After that, I bought the Sir Modern. This I saved up for a long time, and I basically got a hybrid-ish rig. So like basically, I have analog OD distortion and all, but I have digital modulation effects like delay and reverb, and I have a IR loading cab simulator. So basically it's like no amp setup. I go direct everywhere. That's why I have a FR at home, like a loudspeaker which I play through. And yeah, so that's the thing. And then after that, when I bought the Sir, I got a hard case and everything. I realized I didn't want to take it to gigs. It was too nice a guitar for me to like, I don't want to take it out. And also my back was with that SZ. I used to have major issues on my shoulder even. So yeah, so because of that, I wanted to buy a very ergonomic guitar, and I searched. And I got a headless Kiesel Vader, which took me a year kind of to build and decide on what I wanted. So my Vader is basically based on the things that I learned from the Sir and my favorite Ibanez SZ, like the flame top, the finish I took from the SZ, and then the stainless steel frets and all I took from the Sir. So those ideas and everything, it was amalgamation of those, and yeah, so that's basically my gear.
So do you have any future plans with Inhuman upcoming?
Future plans in the sense like, yeah, because as long as I'm there and as long as I think like, Inhuman's music is relevant and stuff that I make, we are going to have another album out, working on it already.
Or touring wise?
Touring is always a very dicey thing for me to say, because I'll tell you, most of the bands that go on tour, they pay from their own pockets one side and this and that. I would rather put that money and resource into making the production of my next album better, or some music video, something like some content which makes tangible sense, because gig is great, you get exposure and everything, but like at what cost is my question. So yeah, if the terms are great, why not? That's why we stick to local gigs, because still play here and get away with it.
So rather than music, what are your hobbies? Like I can see many books. So
yeah, so I've been into a lot of things since childhood, like than music, like the pop culture thing and all. I grew up in that period of the early 90s. I was always fascinated when also comics I used to from childhood, like read Bengali ones, and you can see all the Moyu ones and Narayan Devnath. I have all of that, and then I have and actually all of this started after I started earning on my own. But in my head I was very fascinated by cartoons, comics, like everything. So I think I'm trying to hold on to my childhood in some way, because now I collect toys. I even worked as like a consultant art director for a 1/6 scale collectible company. So like doing custom toys, like there's a couple of them are here. One is American Psycho, one is Blondie. So I've worked on those two projects.
I heard that you have some collectibles like from Marty Friedman, you have signed copies and Alan
Yeah,
also.
a friend of mine was very gracious enough, like I'm a big Marty Friedman fan. So like Marty Friedman was playing in Paris, and he works there. So I told him to go, if it was possible, to his show and all. So he did go, and he did manage to meet Marty also, because I think shows over there are a lot more like an audience and their interactions, smaller shows, backstage passes. So he managed to get me a signed backstage pass and like a ticket which Marty dedicated to me. And then also, I'm not really a collector, but like these guys I really respect. So something from them would be really nice. I have got a signed Alan Holdsworth on Magic Stomp here. So that was because I got lucky, because I was in the forum and somebody was talking about signed memorabilia and all. So one of like his guitar tech, his name is Chip Flynn. He mentioned that he had a lot of signed things by Alan before his death. That Alan had signed for one of, I think, some Kickstarter or FundMe or some sort of crowdfunding, some project which didn't work out in the end. So, but he was still having those stuff that Alan signed to give to those people who would be pledging, and he would sell them on cost, like no premium, nothing, just the price of that item. So I jumped into it, and I was very lucky, because because he would only ship to the US. I have some school friends who live in the US. They were like Rohit. He paid for it and shipped it to his place, and then another friend like Tanaya, she bought it from the US when she went to travel there. So I just got lucky, I would say.
And how death influenced you?
Back when we started out, I always wanted to write good original songs. I'll be honest with you, I like death, but I don't want to play death all the time. There is another issue with bands being formed, like bands are being formed of the bands they like. That is another thing. You will realize one thing when you ask, when you see interviews of bands abroad and all, like say for example Dimebag Darrell, or even Marty Friedman. Marty Friedman, one of his favorite bands is the Ramones, Kiss, and then Dimebag Darrell is also Kiss and all of that. So, but it has nothing to do with their music, right? So which shows that what you listen to has an influence on you, but doesn't generally mean you're doing that music.
From Evocation EP, what is your favorite track?
The new song Liquid Fear of Consciousness, because that was the new song. That was the first song I wrote post the new lineup. With Prithvi Raj I wrote that song. So we will probably we want to do a full length, not an EP or anything. We want to do like a full length of songs and all. Work is progressing on it, and I don't know how long it will take.
One last question.
Sure.
So what message you would like to convey to your followers or young musicians?
Yes. I just say that the world is very big. You shouldn't ever stop learning. You should educate others, not belittle them. Also, most importantly, which I always tell for bands and everyone, you don't try fooling people. Don't try fooling people, because you can fool a lot of people, but like you can't fool yourself.
One last thing, would you like to tell something about Meta 91 on our channel or viewers?
Yeah, I would say something like I saw your channel some randomly, some YouTube, I think I think I was watching something else and that came on the stuff. And then I saw there was some content on amps and all that, tube amps, and I was like, wow, in Calcutta, who's like, playing like these things and like, testing them out. That's why I went to look. And it's a very novel, I would say, thing from you guys, because there are other content creators for YouTube, but I don't know their intent. But like, what you guys are doing is a very niche thing. It's very difficult. Like your audience, especially if it's limited to the city, it's even smaller. Whatever happens, whatever we are all doing, you, me, all, it's all out of passion and love for what we are doing. Kudos to you guys and like for doing what you do. We are practically, like the audience, us, we make the so-called scene. So you're going to inspire someone, somebody else is going to make a new channel seeing us. So keep doing it, man. It's great. It's very novel, and I really didn't expect or imagine this thing happening. So yeah, Metal Guitar 911.
We're so alive. I'm a destiny.